Hey, welcome to the RV Living Show. Today we'll be talking about preparing for a travel day. So stay tuned. We've got some great tips for you.
The RV life. We're surrounded with the message that it's a life you have to wait until retirement to have, and a life that only some can afford. And while it might be reality for those who want to believe that's true, we're on a mission to change that mindset and help people to stop wondering and start wandering to create a life they love.
Join us in conversations about how to design your RV life. We're Brian and Luann Street, and this is the RV Living Show.
Hello and welcome to the RV Living Show. We're Brian and Luann Street. If you don't already know who we are, we have a RV lifestyle blog called Where the Streets Wander, and you can check us out at streetswander.com. We're so excited you're here with us today. Those of you who are watching with us live and on the replay, if you're here with us live, go ahead and put in the comments where you're from and where you're watching from today. We would love to be able to chat with you in the comments after we do today's topic.
Okay.
All right. So what are we talking about today, Brian?
How to get ready for RV travel day.
Yeah. So, getting ready for RV travel day, depending on how often you travel and how many days in succession you travel, can be a big task.
It is a big task. I mean, especially the longer you stay somewhere, you tend to get more things out.
Yeah, you do. You totally do. The longer you stay, the more you get things out, and then the more you have to put away. So we're going to give you some tips on how to make these travel days easier. And so the first one is to prepare the day before.
Really, that is something we've really been doing for a long time now, is that preparing the day before. Start thinking about your travel day ahead of time. That way you got a chance to put away things like you're not using to start with.
Yeah, I mean, we found we were getting really stressed out with, especially if it was a bigger travel day, like 300 miles or so, just trying to get up and get ready and then still have to put everything away. So we're trying to be a little more proactive by preparing the day before.
Yeah, think about what you got sitting around in your RV. Some of the stuff you've got out, you probably got it out, used it once, and then it's still out. It's time to put it away, get it out of here. Plus, the day before, you're not rushed to get it done. You can just take your time, put things away. Look at what you got outside. Maybe the stuff, the outside furniture, your chairs, maybe you're not going to be using them. That's a good time to put them away.
Although we have had some conversations, Brian and I, where he'll get really overzealous and I'll go outside to enjoy the evening the day before we leave, and the chairs are gone, the rug is gone.
That's what I'm saying. If you're not using them,
he didn't ask me if I was going to use them.
I wasn't going to use them. Okay.
Oh man. Okay, so hopefully you already know where you're going, right? On the next day, but
yeah, if you don't know where you're going, you might want to start thinking about that. That'd be a good time to get started.
I know right now, the campgrounds are filling up, and if you don't have a reservation right now, you could end up disappointed. So planning ahead is definitely a good thing, and we really teach you to be way more prepared than just the day before for where you're going the next day. But at the same time, you could take this time to review where you're going the next day.
Yeah, and I always like to do that. If I'm going somewhere where I haven't been before, I always want to look at the route. I want to see where I'm going to maybe plan some stops. If I'm not on the interstate where I don't have many rest areas, I'll start looking at different places where I can stop the RV, maybe for lunch or take a break. All these things are good to know ahead of time. And another thing is that the GPS, I like to know where the GPS is taking me. A lot of times even your RV GPS takes you down certain roads that I prefer not driving on.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you are like that, but that's how he rolls, and he feels more comfortable comparing routes and figuring out where he wants to go. It's less stressful for him to figure it out before he drives on. And even if I'm driving, I just listen to him about where I'm going. So that's kind of how we keep peace in our home. So the other thing is you want to review your reservations, right? Because, we use our travel planner and we make sure our reservations are accurate, because we travel so much and because we are full-time. We've made the mistake before where we looked and went, oh, we don't have to leave tomorrow. We can leave the next day. And so those kinds of things can be eliminated and be a little less stress if you are looking ahead and realizing that you didn't need to pack up all your stuff. You looked at your reservations and you know that you're good to go where you're going. And a lot of times they're doing online check-ins now for these campgrounds. And you can go ahead and do those and get all prepared for when you arrive. So, yeah. And the other tip that you had, Brian, was about checking your things.
If it's the day before, maybe a great time to go ahead and check your tires. Make sure the air pressure is properly set in them. Another thing is check your fluids in your engine or your generator. Go ahead and take care of that the day before. You got time to work on it. It's not stressful. And really, just pay close attention to all of those things, because especially your tire pressure, that is just so important when you travel. I know we use the a lot of you have the tire monitoring systems, which is great. You get up in the morning, you turn them on, but I've also turned them on and found out we'd picked up a nail along the way and got a low tire. That stuff you could maybe find a day ahead of time. You could get it taken care of. Yeah,
and it's just one less thing to have to deal with on travel day, because that could set you back. That could keep you from even making it to your next destination if you had a surprise like that. So doing all that stuff the day ahead, topping off your oil if you need it. Maybe you don't have oil, you ran out, of being able to refill it. You can go get it. All that kind of stuff can help. Looking at your tires and all those things every travel day is a best practice in your RV life. So as you continue on to travel, even if you're just moving from place to place one day and then the next day, at least check your tires, because you got a lot riding on them. All of your things, your lives, everything is riding on those tires.
Yeah, that's happened twice to us, where we parked for a while and I didn't realize that when we parked it, there had been a nail in the tire. And
yeah,
so it is just go ahead and check a day before. It'll save you a lot of stress.
So the next tip we have all goes for the day of preparations, because now you prepared some things for the day before, but now what are you going to be doing the day of? Well, one of the things that I'm big on is having a travel day checklist. Because if you don't travel every day, or you're a new RV traveler, getting used to that routine of what you need to do to tie up your RV. And I mean, put everything away, check all of the things. If you have a checklist of the things that you need to be doing, then you're not going to forget anything. So you could have a checklist for inside your RV. You could have one for the outside of your RV. And then you don't have to think about it or always have to remember everything. It's right there on a list. You could even have the list on your phone in a little, a check off app, and be able to check it off and then uncheck it for the next time when you can go around and do those things.
Yeah.
And every RV is different. You have different things that you have to do. I was just talking with another RVer, and they have to totally set up their fridge a certain way in order to keep it from, dislodging and stuff. We don't have that issue. So I don't have to do that many things to my fridge. So every RV and every situation's a little bit different. So having that checklist can help.
Absolutely. Another thing is having, like you mentioned earlier, have an inside job and outside. One of you maybe do the outside, one of you do the inside every time, so you get more familiar with what you're doing.
Yeah, we really like us each having our jobs, because then something doesn't get missed. Because once you get in that routine, then you know exactly what to do. It becomes faster. It becomes second nature. It becomes a habit, and you're less likely to miss something. So one of the other tips that we like to do for day of is think about what you're going to have for lunch while you're driving down the road. What kind of preparation do you need to do that? Do you need to find a place that you're going to have to stop to get food? Or are you going to, if you're towing, are you going to pack a lunch that you're going to put in your truck, so that, or your vehicle that you're, towing your towable with, so that you have lunch readily available, because most of the time when you're towing, your RV is all closed up. You're not going to have access to those things. So thinking about that ahead of time. Now, because we have a motorhome, we do it a little differently.
Yeah, we think about that today. We set things out because, one thing we did notice when the slides come in, it covers a lot of the cabinets or some of the cabinets that we store things in. So if we don't get things out ahead of time, then, we're pulling off somewhere trying to figure out how to get a slide open to get to something.
Yeah. So a lot of times, like if we're doing sandwiches, I'll move the bread over into a cabinet that has easy access, make sure the peanut butter is in the right place.
And snacks.
And snacks. I was going to say, Brian's got to have his snacks. So that is important for day of preparation. One of the other tips is to prepare for your dinner at your destination. Be thinking about that now. If you need to take something out of the freezer and put it in the fridge so it can be thawing. Another thing is maybe you could start a crock pot dinner and have it cooking while you're driving down the road and have it ready for you when you get there. Brian and I tend to just plan to eat out on especially a big travel day. We don't usually cook when we arrive at a destination. If we've driven more than 350 miles, we're like done. And we'll just eat something quick out and relax for the evening.
Yes.
But, knowing what you're going to do is the important thing. That way you're not having to figure it out.
Yeah, another thing, you think about your pets. If you got pets, you want to go ahead and get everything set up for them. Do they have water? Do they have food? Whatever they need for that day. And one last thing I do want to mention on your travel day is when you get all packed up and you're all hooked up, it's good for both of you to do a walk around the RV and look for things. And the reason I say this is because I know being outside, I've left things before because I'd set something to the side to clean it and got busy doing other things and didn't go back and pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Or we've left our jack pads because
that's what I'm talking about.
I would get in the RV and he would be in the RV and we drive off and you didn't see that. So now we make a habit of pulling out and I look around. He's already done that walk around and now he's in it and pulling it. And I look the last time before I actually get in and we finish up.
Yeah.
And that way we don't leave our $50 jack pads behind.
Yeah. I mean, things happen. You just, you got so many things you're trying to think about.
Yeah.
That's why you're on your list. But it's just that last minute look is, can save you a lot of frustration.
So we'll be right back after this break.
This episode of the RV Living Show is brought to you by the Complete RV Travel Planner, the only travel planner made specifically for the RV lifestyle. Get yours today at rvtravelplanner.com.
So as you can see on the screen, that says 2021 RV Travel Planner. But guess what? The undated edition is out. It is now shipping. We just got notice from our printer yesterday that all of our planners are now shipping as they're ordered. So if you are waiting for a travel planner this year, you can grab one at rvtravelplanner.com. In fact, everyone who's ordered so far, they're on their way. So the fulfillment center is putting them in boxes today.
Yes.
So that was exciting. So we want to invite you, before we go on and do our last tip, because this last tip is all about while you're on the road. But, we want to invite you to a travel challenge that we're going to be having inside our free Facebook group. Our free Facebook group is called Stop Wondering and Start RVing. And a lot of you may be in it already. But if you're not, you can jump on in there. But our travel challenge is going to be an event that we're going to have where it's called Plan Your Next RV Adventure. And we're going to take you from A to Z on planning your next RV adventure. And so every day you're going to get an email. If you sign up for the challenge, you're going to get an email that helps you complete a tiny task for each day, that by the end of the challenge, you'll have your next destination or your next trip planned. And so we're going to have prizes. It's going to be a really fun time inside the Facebook group, and it's free. So be sure to sign up at streetswander.com/travel challenge. We would love to have you there. It starts on July 8th, and it runs, I think, through the 15th. So yeah, get in there and let's have fun planning our next adventure.
It's going to be fun.
Okay, so the last thing that we're going to be looking at is while you're on the road, right? So you've done all these preparations. You've prepared the day before. You've prepared the morning of, and you got in your RV and you're driving down the road. So now what? So hopefully you figured out your lunch and you know what you're doing or where you're going to stop and that kind of thing. But now you're on the road and you're driving and you're doing all the things. Well, that time can be an empty space time, right? And so we have some little tips today that we'd like to share with you. Maybe you do this already, but you could totally listen to an audiobook.
Yeah, we've done that before too, and I really enjoy doing that.
Well, and
I was very surprised.
We got the audiobook based on Lewis and Clark, and we were going to go down the Lewis and Clark trail, going out west and see the things as we went along and listening to the book. It was really interesting. It kind of tied it all together. So if you could look for an audiobook like that based on your travels, or you can play some road trip games. Yes. Did you ever play road trip games when you were a kid?
Yes, we did. But our kids did a lot of that.
Brian's not a big game player, but I love to play games. So, the whole alphabet game, right? Say O-A, you find the A, or the whole, we're dating ourselves now. What? Punch Buggy, Herbie Goes Bananas. Find all the VWs, which there aren't that many anymore. So you can also have a favorite playlist of music already. If you maybe save that playlist for just when you travel, and that's when you listen to it, and that could just make that day be better because you haven't heard those songs in a while.
Yeah, it makes the time go by a lot quicker.
It does. It does, having something to listen to. So those are our tips for while you're on the road. If you do something fun while you're on the road, let us know. We'd love to chat about that in the comments. All right, well, we're going to dive in to see who's here with us live. Okay, so Pam says hello. Hello, Pam. So glad you're here. And Madeline from Tampa Bay. Yay. At least we're not as hot in Florida, are we, Madeline, as they are out west? You guys who are living out there, I know it's really dreadful right now. I'm so sorry. Cindy from Clio, Michigan. Awesome. Thanks for being here. Nancy, Joanne. Oh, she's also from Michigan. Maybe you guys are neighbors. Jane Elizabeth says she's watching and listening from Alberta, Canada. Nice.
Yes, very nice.
Are you guys able to get out RVing right now? I know that you guys have been a little more locked down than the U.S. has been. Andy, hello. Andy. We haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad you're here. And Rose from Freeville, New York. Welcome, Rose. Sherry from Maryland. Jerry from New Jersey. Liz from Charlotte, North Carolina. And Madeline that has a question. How long does it take you to drive 300 miles?
Yeah, that's interesting. If you were driving in your car, you're looking probably about, 5 hours. RV time, we always think of things in RV time, and 300 miles is most likely going to take us 6.5 hours.
If not 7, depending on where you pull over, how long you stop for, you're slower. I don't know. It depends on how big your RV is too. I know we travel slower than we would in the car, and it's not as quick as on and off as,
everything takes more
on
time.
A road
you
trip.
Pull off to get gas. That's going to take a lot longer because you're
a lot longer.
It's like you live at the gas station. And so, all these things take time. So 300 is pretty much our limit. We'd like to stop way before that actually, but recently we did do a little bit more than that.
We did. We don't like to do those longer days if we can help it. Sometimes it's necessary to get to that next place. But the more we travel, the more we realize that 100-mile day is amazing. That's like perfect. So Sandy says Rochester, New York, very hot. It's unusual, humid. Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that all across the north. So yeah, because we're not as hot here in Florida, and usually Florida, where we are right now, it's usually very hot and humid, and so, it's a little bit of reversal in the weather for sure. Madeline says, also, what is your usual stay in campgrounds? So since we're full time, we stay anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks when we stay. Sometimes we've stayed up to a month in other places. If we've gotten a really good monthly rate and we like where we are, we've done a month before.
Yes.
Because we like to explore.
We like to explore. Plus, we're still working a little bit from the road, so it's nice to just stop and kind of not be rushed.
Yes. And we work from the road, so we have to make time for that. So Joanne says she's been on the road from California since June 4th. Congratulations,
Yes,
Joanne. And she says, don't forget the coffee and water for the road trip. That's right. That's right. Now, see, we have a motorhome, and right here, if you can see right here, this is Brian's espresso machine, and it goes with us everywhere, and that is his coffee for the road.
We have to plan for those stops.
We do. So, oh, yes, snacks, lots of snacks. Liz says Harvest hosts are awesome for back-to-back travel days. Yes, they are. They're great. If you can find them on the route that you're going and take advantage of them, and you don't have to go too far off the beaten path, they're an awesome way to do back-to-back. We found that depending on where we're going, I love to do them, but if they take us like an hour or 2 hours off the road, then we don't do them as much. But we love them.
Yeah, we've done them as much as like 20 some miles off the road, and I absolutely loved it. I mean, she talked me into doing one, and I said, "That's 20 miles. I'm not going over there." And we got over it. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it was worth taking it.
Every few minutes we drove over there. It was.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, for joining us today. We are going to come back next week, and we're going to be sharing some tips for cooking in your RV, actually cooking for two, because I know that, as we start to travel and there's just two of us, it becomes harder and harder to figure out how to stop cooking larger quantities and cooking smaller quantities, and even having smaller storage in your RV
and smaller cooking spaces.
Yes, yeah. So we're going to be talking about some tips to make that a little bit easier. So we thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for the RV Living Show. We hope this episode helps you in creating an RV life you love.
Until next time, we encourage you to stop wandering